Let's talk about whether vaccines could actually cause cancer through the mechanisms being proposed, because understanding biological plausibility is crucial for evaluating these claims. When someone says vaccines cause cancer, we can't just ask, where's the evidence? We also need to ask, is there any biological pathway by which this could even happen? Let me walk you through how mRNA vaccines actually work at the cellular level. The vaccine consists of messenger RNA wrapped in a lipid nanoparticle. When injected, this mRNA enters the cytoplasm of your cells, the fluid inside the cell but outside the nucleus where your DNA is kept. The cell's ribosomes read this mRNA like an instruction manual and manufacture spike proteins based on those instructions. Here's the critical point. The mRNA never enters the nucleus, cannot access your DNA, cannot integrate into your genome. And even if it somehow did get into the nucleus, which it doesn't, it still couldn't integrate into your chromosomes because that would require an enzyme called reverse transcriptase, which human cells don't produce and which isn't part of the vaccine. The mRNA is also temporary. It gets translated into protein and then degraded within days. The spike proteins that get produced trigger an immune response as your body learns to recognize them, and then they're cleared away. Within weeks, there's no trace of the vaccine components left in your body, just the immune memory your B cells and T cells have formed. Now let's think about what would be required for a vaccine to actually cause cancer. You'd need one of several things to happen. Either direct DNA damage, activation of oncogenes, inactivation of tumor suppressor genes, or chronic immune suppression that allows malignant cells to escape immune surveillance. mRNA vaccines don't do any of these things. There's no mechanism for DNA damage because the mRNA doesn't interact with your genomic DNA. There's no oncogene activation because the vaccine doesn't modify gene expression beyond the temporary production of spike protein. There's no tumor suppressor inactivation for the same reason. And far from causing immune suppression, vaccines stimulate immune activity, the opposite of what would allow cancer to develop. Compare this to things that actually do cause cancer. Human papillomavirus causes cervical cancer by integrating its DNA into the host genome and producing proteins that inactivate tumor suppressors. That's a real biological mechanism. Chronic hepatitis B infection causes liver cancer through decades of inflammation and cellular damage. Radiation and certain chemicals cause cancer by directly damaging DNA and creating mutations. These are plausible biological mechanisms with clear pathways from cause to effect. When you examine the proposed mechanisms by which vaccines supposedly cause cancer, they fall apart under biological scrutiny. Claims about DNA contamination ignore that your body is constantly exposed to foreign DNA from food, bacteria, and the environment without it integrating into your genome. Claims about immune dysregulation don't match what we actually see immunologically after vaccination. Here's another important comparison. Actual viral infections, the things vaccines prevent, have well-documented cancer links. HPV causes cervical, throat, and other cancers. Hepatitis B causes liver cancer. Epstein-Barr virus is linked to certain lymphomas. These viruses cause cancer through chronic infection, viral integration, or persistent inflammation. Getting vaccinated prevents these infection-related cancers, making vaccination protective against cancer, not causative. The biological implausibility doesn't prove vaccines can't cause cancer. Absence of known mechanism isn't proof of safety, but it shifts the burden of proof dramatically. When there's no plausible biological pathway, you need extraordinarily strong epidemiological evidence to establish causation. And that evidence simply doesn't exist. Large population studies consistently show no increased cancer rates in vaccinated populations. Understanding biological mechanisms helps you evaluate claims more critically. When someone proposes that some intervention causes some outcome, ask yourself, is there a plausible biological pathway? What would have to happen at the cellular and molecular level? Does the proposed mechanism make sense given what we know about biology?